Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the Detroit Red Wings as they're the next team I wanted to look at and evaluate for my What's Next series, taking a look at all the 32 teams and assessing where they're at and what do they got to do next to be successful for next season. For the Detroit Red Wings, they're in a bit of a conundrum because they're a team that is close. I feel like they're close. I know that their general manager thinks they're close, but they're also a team that doesn't have a lot of time, especially Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman does not have a lot of time to get this team to where it needs to be because he's had a lot of it already. But let's take a look here. So, record this season. The Detroit Red Wings this season, they had a 39-35-8 record. That was good for 86 points, so that's not good enough. Doesn't reach the 90-point threshold that usually playoff teams have to hit. And they were out earlier. They were eliminated as a team earlier than they were last season because last season they were 41-32-9 for 91 points. They were 5 points better last season, so that's not encouraging. Um, they regressed slightly. Um, and this is a team that was supposed to make the jump this season. Honestly, they were supposed to make it last season. They were supposed to have been in the playoffs already, and Steve Yzerman his seat is very hot right now. He's the GM there. He's been the GM there for quite a while now, and everyone bought into the rebuild when it started, and for a good long while there's still people who believe in it and still believe that Steve Yzerman's the right guy. But I think he deserves a lot of criticism because he's made some mistakes. As a player and as a guy, I really like him. I think he's really cool, honestly. I love the aura that Stevie Y brings, but I can't sit here and say that he's made every single great move. I think he drafts well. I think that he can fleece people in trades very well. I think he's got that ability that not many general managers, have. But I think that his ability to evaluate defensemen, especially older defensemen, defensemen who aren't prospects, he brings them in, and whether it's through a trade or free agency, I don't think he's very good at evaluating that, and I think that it has led to not only them being against the cap here now, but also, you know, blocking certain prospects from getting in, and then also these defensemen, they're not even worth it. Like they're not good enough to be worthy of being on this team. We'll get into that as we look at this on ice core here. Your top six. I apologize if there's any mistakes. I look at daily face-off for these lines, so correct me in the comments if there's any minor mistakes here. But on the top line, you've got Berggren, Larkin, and Raymond. Berggren, I don't actually know too much about. I love Red Wings fans to kind of fill me in on Berggren. If the little about him I know is that I think that he's a player that probably is a little underrated, and maybe is blossoming into his own here. But please educate me on Berggren, anyone who would care to. But Larkin and Raymond, I know a lot about. Larkin had a rough season, but he's going to have another one of those to change my opinion of him, which is that I think he is maybe the most, one of the most underrated centers in the entire league. He's borderline, top 10 center. I think, in my opinion, I think he's fantastic. I think that anyone who's on his line is brought up. Their play is brought up because of him. I think he's remarkable. I think that he plays a style that's kind of similar. He reminds me a little bit of Jonathan Toews back in his prime. So I wouldn't have anyone else. I know that some people say that Larkin isn't maybe a number one center. I disagree on that. I think he absolutely is a number one center. I think he's got that caliber to him. Now, if you find someone better than him that you can put Larkin down to number 2C, yeah, by all means, do that. But But no, I don't think that you're looking for someone to replace Larkin. I think that he's great. Now, his comments in the media where he said that, you know, wasn't a fan of how Stevie Y approached the trade deadline, that he would have liked more of a boost, a shot in the arm for this team. And then Stevie Y, I think, recently said how wasn't too happy with Larkin's comments. That's your captain there. You really hope there's not a rift there. I get that there can be some clashing, viewpoints on how to best run the team, and that can be healthy. That can be a good thing. But it wasn't a great look, at least on how I interpret it. Raymond, I may be the biggest Raymond fan out there. I love Lucas Raymond. I am so high on him. I think the sky's the limit for him. So for them to have, gotten him at fourth, and I remember when they fell to fourth in the draft, it was seen as like this huge loss. And it was because of the horrible season they had at the time. But to get Lucas Raymond out of that, whew, I wish, I wish my team had a Lucas Raymond because he's fantastic. So their top line is looking all right. It's no qualms really with the top line. Second line, Casper's really coming into his own, eh? DeBrincat, Casper, and Kane. We'll see if they keep Kane. I think they will. Kane's kind of built a little nice, place for him there. Reunites with his buddy Brinks. They're not. DeBrincat's not always the most consistent player, but for a second line player, DeBrincat's great. I love DeBrincat. I loved him in Chicago. I was very, very sad to see him go, but I'm happy that he's raising his family over there in Detroit. Casper, I'm impressed with Casper. I'm really glad that he's finally coming into his own. Probably it took him a little while to get to the NHL, but it's cool, and I hope he's the second line center going forward. Comfer, he was injured, and that allowed Casper to take more of a role here. But Comfer is not a 2C in my mind. Comfer is like your third line center. So if Casper can take the reins full time for next season, they're in a good spot there. The offense isn't the problem really. The problem in my mind is the defense. And it's not the top line. I love the top line defense. I'm very high on Edvinsson. Edvinsson Seider is the top pair for your defense. Is awesome. I love it. Love it. It's after that I have my problems. Edvinsson, young defenseman, he's only going to get better. Really, really like what I've seen from him so far as a player. Seider, I think that some people may have soured on him a little bit after the rookie season, which was incredible, but I wouldn't say I've soured on him too much. He's tasked with doing so much because of how poor the rest of the defense is. And I like the defensive strides he made this season. So I like that top pair. It's just after that, that is, I didn't put the depth there, but you've got more than just Sherratt and Hall there. You've also got Petrie. I like Mata. Mata's good there, but you need more. You need your entire second line of defense. I think you need to somehow ship them out and replace them with some shutdown options or more mobile options. But Sherratt and Hall, I'm sorry, I don't think it cuts it, and I think that it directly leads to some of the stats here. But goaltending, we'll go into goaltending before we get to the stats. Detroit's become like a goaltending farm. It's very interesting. They've got a ton of prospects there. Augustine, I know, comes to mind right now. Casa, right? Sebastian Casa. They've got more. And they've got a ton of goalies right now in the system as well. You've got Talbot, who can be your number one starter. You've got Mrazek, who can be a number one starter. They've got, oh my God, I'm blanking, but they've got so many. They had like two other goalies. You've got the Jack Campbell in the AHL, who may find his way to the NHL again. Who knows? You just got so many options. So I don't know. I guess Stevie Y likes his goalies, but I think they can improve there, but you've got so many options. I don't know if that's something they're going to be looking to upgrade in the offseason. You got other areas you need to improve first. Uh, and these guys are veterans. They're veterans. They know the business, so they know how to get through an NHL season. Let the young guys maturate in the AHL or whatever junior leagues they're in, and then we'll see. After the next season or two. Stats wise, goals for, this is really interesting because I think it shows exactly what the problem is. I think that it's 5-on-5 goal scoring. 22nd. 22nd on a team that's really, I like their offense a lot. Why is it 22nd? I don't know exactly. I think that their 5-on-5 play has to be the reason, because their power play percentage is fourth in the league. It's really, really good. It was, if that wasn't good this season, they were nowhere close to the playoffs. They'd be probably bottom five. Their power play was converted at 27% of the time. That's really hot. But for their goals for to still be 22nd, that's indicative of something real troublesome. So I hope that Todd McClellan can, maybe that was the former coach's fault a little bit. Guru, I can't remember his name right now. I just know that he's Guru. But yeah, hopefully Todd McClellan, he can get those goals for back up and where they should be, because this top six is too talented, I think, to be that struggling. Goals against, you are out at 20th as well. That's also struggling. But this is more okay. Like you can break this down, because the on ice product is that makes sense. Sherratt and Hall, the rest of the depth besides maybe Mata, you need to bring in defense, and I'll get to that in a second when I talk about their keys to success. Their penalty kill, their penalty kill was worse than the league. 32nd. There was no team in the league that was worse than them at the PK. 70% of the time they were stopping it, but about 30% they were letting it in. So that's absolutely not good enough. I would like. I think I talk about it in the keys to success, but I would definitely like for them to maybe bring in some assistants to better run the PK, because that is unacceptable. So how would you classify the Red Wings' identity right now? Where are they at in the pecking order? They're not a playoff team yet, so where are they at? I don't have them as rebuilders still, because they're not tanking. They're not trying to rebuild in any sort. They're trying to be a playoff team. They're trying to be squarely in the playoffs, right? They're not a retooler really, because I save that for teams that, were at a level that was good and they've fallen and are trying to get back. The Red Wings went through the rebuild. They weren't close in anywhere in the past, decade. So they're not retoolers. I have them in the ascenders category here. So, as a team that is trying to, they're they're a team that just isn't very good at it, I guess, right now. They can absolutely improve, but they're not there yet, right? So they're ascending. They're on their way up. They just have to get there. They have to reach the playoffs very soon. It has to happen pretty much next season. And their next season outlook is exactly that. Their number one goal has to be as a hopeful playoff team. They've got to reach it. If they don't reach it next season, I expect Stevie Y to get the axe. And it's really sad, because I want it to work out. As a Chicago fan, I know you're supposed to hate Detroit, but I root against them when the Hawks are playing them. But no, I want things to work out there. There's a lot of players I like on that team. Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, and Patrick Kane, Seider, Edvinson. There's a lot of players that I really like. So I'm hoping that they figure this out, because it has to happen. Keys to success. I think there's a theme with this one. It's defense. So number one, I think it's the most important. You need two legit top four defensemen. You've got that first line figured out. Awesome. Drafted a Seider, drafted Edvinson, great. Then you brought in Sherratt, Hall, Petrie. I feel really bad. I don't like, just crapping on players. They're humans. I don't want to just be like the guy who just views them as, you know, some product and nothing else. But I think it's prudent to talk about how much they are struggling, and either it's either the game has passed them by or they just need a different kind of scenario, but it's not really working out for them there. So the Detroit Red Wings need to bring in two defensemen to, it goes in with my third key here to success, which is that you have to fix the defense at all costs. Find a way. I know you've got picks, you've got prospects. Don't sell the farm by any means, but maybe attach some picks to whatever team is going to be tanking for next season. There's going to be a couple. McKenna's a really good player. There's going to be a couple teams tanking. Ship these players out like Sherratt, Hall, and Petrie. Attach some picks if you have to and get them out. Get their money off the books. And they're going to have space this offseason. They've been against the cap here, but they're going to have space this offseason. You gotta bring in some players. There's gonna be some shutdown options, and you're gonna have to bring them in. I didn't touch upon the Jake Wallman thing yet. That's really not encouraging. All the stuff that happened there with Jake Wallman. Not only Stevie Y having to give away a second round pick just to get rid of Wallman, who is still very good and is killing it in Edmonton. But then when asked about it by a reporter, it wasn't a great look. He was very defensive about it and said he wouldn't elaborate on why he did what he did with the Wallman trade. So I don't know what's going on there. Probably something that we're just not privy to, but still not great looks, right? The last key to success I have here is to hire better PK or defensive assistant coaches, because as long as that PK is that bad, you will not be making the playoffs. You need to get a sum of 100%, 100 or more. When you add those power play and PK percentages up, and they were not at 100. So keep whoever's running the offense there in terms of at least power play. Fourth in the league, that's good enough. But the PK can't be worse than the league. You cannot have that happen. So maybe addition by subtraction, right? You get out those players I was mentioning, and you bring in other ones, and maybe the PK just shoots right up. But yeah, that's my evaluation on the Detroit Red Wings. Really hope that they can make the jump next season. It's going to be like it was this year. It's going to be another bloodbath in the Atlantic. Lots of teams. There's no one team in that entire division who's trying to be bad. So I think every team's going to be going for next season. It's going to be very, very fun to watch. It's going to be another very challenging season for Detroit, trying to figure out how to not only stay in the mix, but rise above it. So, but yeah, that's my look at the Detroit Red Wings. Next video in this series, I'm covering my team, the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm very, very excited to share my thoughts on them and where I see where they are right now and what they have to do to take that next step. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.